Welcome to the True Love Secrets Revealed Summit. Today we have with us the most beautiful and talented Kalindi Jordan. Kalindi is an inspirational group facilitator and therapist who works in the field of intimacy coaching, sexual healing, conscious relationships, and transforming sexuality into spirituality. How wonderful! What a
Yeah.
treat, Kalindi.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. Thank you.
You are welcome. I would like to talk a little bit more about you. Is that okay?
Absolutely do.
So, this has come from devoted personal practice, many awakenings, and 30 years of experience, which includes running a busy full time practice and delivering her renowned signature program, Sensual Mastery. Kalindi has gathered many grounded insights and wisdom gifts from her thousands of hours of body work with clients, as well as in her personal journey through marriage, separation, mothering, and a nourishing and loving 14-year conscious long-term relationships that continues to thrive. In the pivotal year of 2020, Kalindi was taken through one of her most transformational awakenings to date, as she lost all her hair over the matter of days through alopecia. Navigating through the layers of emotional shock, Kalindi was taken through a deepening process of rebirth. Her spiritual practices, which she had developed in her younger years to overcome a crushing lack of self-worth and self-confidence, were upgraded and amplified to a whole new level. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for being here. What an interesting life and story.
Yes, absolutely. It was definitely, it was definitely a deepening of the journey of practicing what I preach around body confidence and self-love, self-care, and what is the true nature of sexy. Is that, we often think that, sexy is about the way we look, the way we dress, but actually sexy is a state of being, sexy is how connected are we with our sexual energy. So it was definitely threw me into that phase of really embodying the knowing of the feeling of sexy and not getting pulled into the place of having lost what I might perceive as the sort of my physical looks changing with alopecia. So it was definitely a life sort of saying, okay, now can you feel good in this? Can you still feel sexy with this? Can you, yeah. So it's been an interesting journey with the alopecia.
Well, that's the ultimate challenge. I always say, I always tell my clients that when they are like, oh, this is hard, this is so difficult, and they want to quit. It's like, it's easy to have a good attitude and to go after things and to be happy and da 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 when everything is going our way.
Yeah.
But what about when life gives us these gifts of big challenges? That's when we really show who we are and what we are made of. And that's when, if we have a deep inner life, that can support us a lot. So I like you said, the fact that you had done some work before that, what kind of things did you pull in to help you to feel sexy?
Because my work is very much around how to stay engaged with one's sexual energy. And so for me, my journey has been very much of the relationship between our sexual energy, the relationship to our emotions and our sexual psyche, and our relationship to the more sort of esoteric arts of sexuality, so the sacredness of sexuality, and the way that we can tap into a broader perspective of what creative life force of sexual energy is. And so I've done a lot of exploration around Taoism and Tantra. And so in that part of my journey, it was just this even more deepening into that sense of staying connected to the vitality of sexual energy and allowing that to stay moving through this body and through my senses and working it through the body. So a lot of what I teach is working with sexual energy to stay vital, healthy, connected, and therefore also enabling us to really inquire into what we need from relationship and from our sexual expression. So, yeah.
And what is it, sexual energy, exactly?
So I always describe it as, we think about energy, like everything, in science, everything's made of energy. How we think about ice, water, steam. It's just elements vibrating at different speeds that make, one makes it solid, one makes it liquid, one makes it steam. So, you know, everything's made of energy vibrating at different speeds. And that's, you know, a very, very simplified version of how science talks about it. But if we think about our body as a mixture of elements come together, which are animated by energy. And so whatever we want to call that energy, but there's energy moving through our body. So and everything is made of energy. And so when our awareness, so that's our attention and our intention, when we are aware of the sensations in our pelvis, sexual energy is when the energy increases in our pelvis and goes through our sexual anatomy. And we've got to remember that sexual energy is an amplifier. So it amplifies things. It amplifies our emotions. It amplifies our focus, our thoughts. So sexual energy is an amplifier, basically. And so sexual energy is when energy's got amplified in the pelvis and is moving through the sexual organs and then moving through the rest of the body. That's stimulating the sexual anatomy. So it's just a simple way of expressing it, I guess.
That's very, very interesting. That's very interesting how you said that it starts with the pelvis and then it goes through the whole body. Yeah. That is very, very interesting. And how can this sexual energy supercharge our lives as a whole?
So with my experience, it's like our sexual energy, it's what helps us find the focus inside of ourselves. So it can, depending on our habits around our sexuality. So again, it's like feeling sexually vital means that we often have a lot more energy. We often have a lot more mental focus. We often find that our creative projects actually have more capacity to land them in reality rather than to stay in dreaming. Because if we think about sexual energy as very much being in the root, in the physicality of our body, so it helps us make our dreams a reality. So we need to be in connection with our sexual energy to make things manifest, make things come alive, basically. And so often when I work with people and they're feeling disconnected from their sexuality, their sexual energy, they're often finding it hard to make anything solid happen in the world. They're making it hard to create things. It's hard for them. They might have a huge heart and a huge compassion, but it often doesn't have a grounded connection with the world around them.
Yes, so I wonder, if we go through life, let's say we have been with the same partner for a long time, and what happens if one partner grows more, into not being into sex that much? Once we get older, our hormones change and men start to lose testosterone, and there are a lot of physical changes. Women through menopause also, there are a lot of changes. So how can we navigate those transitions where, maybe we met when we were in our 20s and it was all about sexual energy, and the 30s it was all about building a family. So there was still that sexual connection with different ends in mind, but it's there. What about when, people get in their late 30s or even early 40s, when they have kids and they are in another stage of the relationship, and maybe one of the partners is not that interested in sex anymore? There is anything that can be done in that case to?
Yeah, I mean, on some level, it's like every relationship is so unique. So in a way, the answer to that would have a uniqueness. As you know, as a coach, it's like sitting with someone. It's like looking at everybody's individual circumstance.
Yes, I appreciate this.
But it's sort of like, I'm just feeling so many things that I could reply to this. I mean, basically, when one of the questions that I think people can ask themselves is, why do I have sex? What is it for?
Right.
It might seem like quite a simple question, but actually, even the people listening now, think about, what is it? Why do you have sex?
Oh, it's a great question.
It's like, why do you do it? And so the part,
ask ourselves those questions.
And it's sort of like, because on some level, for example, if the answer is because I feel more connected, and so when sex starts to change, and it's maybe not the same as it was like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. If the reason why you're having sex is to get connection, it's like, if the primary goal to sexual intimacy is connection, how else can you co-create connection together? And often people sort of forget that actually sex is, it may be just purely pleasure.
Right.
So how else would you get pleasure? You know, how else can you co-create pleasure? How else can you co-create connection?
Right.
And then not put so much pressure, because a lot of what happens is people put a lot of pressure on their sex lives, and for it to be look a certain way, to act a certain way. Whereas actually, once you take that pressure off and focus on connection or pleasure and play with other ways and other curiosities around getting connection and pleasure, what often then can happen is the appetite for sexual play, when the pressure is taken off, the sexual play becomes more playful, and it becomes more experimental. It becomes more focused on connection or pleasure or the why of sexuality rather than the how. Does, if that makes sense? And so, as you know, I work a lot with people of all different ages, and so one of the first questions is that. So, why do you have sex? What is it you're wanting to achieve? Where is it you're wanting it to take you? What's the experience that you're looking for? Right. You know, right. And both partners may have different answers to that. And so that's fascinating in itself.
Yeah. Yes, because I mean, besides the fact that, you know, sexuality is embedded in our biology, it's part of our evolution. We kind of are wired to do it because that's the way we keep the species alive. There is that.
Yes.
But then when that survival level is satisfied and we want to go higher for more self-actualization, that's when those questions are really, really important.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
that most people don't even feel comfortable talking about sex.
Yeah.
You know, I always think of Madonna, the singer Madonna, that she has a song that says, "Oops, I didn't know we were going to talk about sex," you know?
Yes.
Oh, what? And I think she's so funny for saying that, because there is a lot of taboo. And, you know, what are your ideas that why is so taboo? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right.
No, you are. Yeah, absolutely.
To talk about sex and yes. And
I mean, I think we're coming into a phase where sex and sexuality is starting to be more talked about. There's a lot more people opening up that dialogue. But I just think it's sort of a systemic issue. It's like a cultural, most cultures, you know, depending on the religion, the spirituality of each culture, you know, there's different structural beliefs. And so, you know, if we think about our parents and our grandparents' generations, what was going on in their lifetime, what was happening, you know, what was priority in their life. So, you know, for my grandparents, they were in the world wars. So it's like, you know, and that time was also more steeped maybe in religion and, you know, and so we, you know, in the Industrial Revolution before that and all. So if we look back, and I think looking back, it's sort of, it's almost like there's a fear somehow. It's like there's an unspoken fear of what is it for someone to be in their sexual potency. There's an unconscious fear, I think, that it still lives in society around people being in their very clear knowing of what they want and what they desire, and that pleasure is important. I also feel that looking back historically, pleasure can't be prioritized because a lot of life has been around survival.
Right.
And so I think we're stepping into a time, or have been in a time, where pleasure is much more accessible. Not just sexual pleasure, but holidays and the pleasures of life, eating good food, you know, time off, all of that. So, but talking about sex,
The French know how to do it. They do all those.
yeah,
They get a lot of vacations. They eat good. There are certain cultures that are more prone to celebrate.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think because we're really just a generation that's only really just starting to be able to talk about it, and we're coming out of a shame culture.
Wow.
Where it's I do feel that a big part of it is just because we haven't had parents or grandparents that have talked about it. So a big part of it, the reason why people still aren't talking about it, because it's quite new to talk about sex with your partner or people that you're enjoying your bodies with. I do think that is changing. And I think it's one of the things, and I'm sure you do this too, it's one of the things that I encourage couples to talk about. And I also think a big part of that is because we're not taught that self-pleasure, how important self-pleasure is.
Wow.
So as teenagers, you know, of course we, you know, as children, as teenagers, it's very natural to touch our bodies.
Right.
And again, we're not taught as teenagers, especially, that actually self-pleasure is an important part of our sex.
The opposite. At least
Yeah.
that's my education, but I'm kind of I'm not sure what's going on right now. But and I don't have kids. You do have a kid. So
I do. I have one son.
And how old is he?
He's 28.
Yes.
Yes.
So what was your experience with him? Did you teach him did you have these conversations with him? You want to talk about that? I'm sorry, I don't want to.
I can talk about that. Yeah. I mean, I think the challenge for him was that because this is my work, and you know, I'm sort of like, so what do you want to know? I'll talk about everything with you. You know, do you need to, you know, no, Mum, I know this is what you do. And I know you could probably tell me loads of things, but I don't really want to talk to you about it. So even though the offer was there, I gave him some very good books though instead.
That's awesome. Yes.
You know, I think that's one of the things is to, as the new generation of parents, is to ourselves to start to learning to talk about our bodies and the pleasure of our bodies, to be able to then be able to encourage those conversations with teenagers as well around bodies and self-pleasure. But self-pleasure really informs us around what we like and what we don't necessarily like. And so I think some part of the lack of sexual conversations is because people don't really know what to say about what they like because they haven't explored themselves enough.
Right. So it all starts with us. Like every single conversation, being that intimacy, communication, how to, you know, place boundaries, whatever aspect of a healthy relationship that we talk about, it all starts with us. We need to know it for ourselves to be able to create it in the outside. And that is
I often say to people, it's one of my sort of phrases, is that we are our primary lover. And so, you know, so if the first lover is you with yourself, so how we treat ourselves in our mental talk, how we talk to ourselves in our mind, how we treat ourselves emotionally, how we touch ourselves, how we move towards pleasure or not move towards pleasure. The way that we treat ourselves as the primary lover will affect the way that we explore basically our secondary lover, which is the lovers that we choose to be with. So I love that.
That's beautiful. That's completely new for me. I never saw it that way. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else you would like to share with the audience? Because I know we talked about so many different things.
Yes.
And you want to just kind of like put it all on a thread and, you know, put it all together, or maybe not. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that one of the things that help people, because I know this is about sort of love, dating, and relationships. I feel that one of the things that help people, especially in the world of dating and being in relationship, is to look at the question, what is your ethos for a relationship? Like, it's almost like, what is your GPS coordinates? Like, what is the relationship? What is the co-creation of you and this other? What are you wanting that to feel? What are you wanting that to be like? What are you wanting that quality? It's like we need to be able to drink and nourish ourselves from relationship. That's why we should be doing it, really, is that we drink from that co-creation. And so what is it that we want to be drinking from relationship? How are we wanting to be nourished? Right. So in a way, you know, like how businesses have an ethos, or a charity has an ethos, you know, of what they in service to. So what is the relationship in service to? Meaning in service to a certain quality of feeling. And so when you're in the dating world, it's like, again, depending on what age you are, what phase of life, the answer to this may be different, but it's like, in your desire and yearning for partnership, what is the co-creation that you and this other want? What is it you want to co-create with them? And I'm not just talking about babies or houses or businesses, it's like, what are the feelings that you want to be having within this relationship? And so, you know, along with the question in there of why do we have sex, but also what is the GPS coordinates? What's the ethos of relationship that you're looking for?
That is another amazing question. Because
Yeah,
like you said, it's our GPS, or the North Star, I call it. There are different ways.
yeah,
It's always the same thing. It's knowing what you want to create with the other person.
Yeah, because often what people do is, especially in dating, they focus on the type of person they want. They focus on the other. They focus on their list of qualities, and I want this person, and they've got to have blue eyes, and or whatever it is, you know. But actually, it's not really how it works. It's like, what we want to do is be with somebody that we want to co-create an experience of life together with.
That's beautiful. Can I ask you one more question?
Absolutely. I could answer many, but yeah.
Actually, I am asking for a client. Okay.
Yes, please do.
So I have this beautiful client, and she just yesterday told me that she has been on 3 dates with this guy that, you know, that it's a great guy. Let's leave it at that. He's great. But he is her same height. And she's a tall lady. She's not a short lady, but she's not super tall, but she's not good. So, and she's kind of turned off by that, because she grew up with a tall dad, tall brothers, you know, like she's the shortest in her family, actually. So, and she was torn apart because she's like, I really like this guy, and he's my same height. And we did the work a few months ago. I have been working with her for a few months now. And so we got rid of that list. But now it's coming back, that item that he has to be like 6 foot or 6'1". I guess my question is, what I told her is, keep being curious, keep showing up, keep being curious, and see how he treats you, and keep dating other guys. So, you know, maybe you will find a guy that treats you as good as he does, and he's taller. But what would be your advice?
I mean, one of the things that I would encourage her to look at is, what was it in her childhood around her relationship with her dad and her brothers? Because we've got to remember that everything comes from like a habit. It's like our sexuality and our relationships start with our relationship with our caregivers and our siblings.
Right.
And so what I would encourage her to look at is how did it make her feel when she was a child and a teenager?
Yeah.
What is it? Because ultimately it's a story. It's like it's a story that we tell ourselves, but it'll be maybe in her subconscious. There will be a feeling that she's got in relationship to her brothers and her father. Was there something was she teased at school about her height? Was she teased? Did something happen? I would go into a bit more investigation into what is it because what often is happening is that unconsciously she's associating him with the experiences of her past. The experience of her past are influencing. It's like a filter comes in. But what she could look at is the filter. What's the story around the filter? And maybe changing the narrative of that filter in which she's seeing through. So she needs to understand the filter. She needs to understand her own story about having people the same height, or, having the height relationship, because then she might have an aha moment around what is coming up for her in relation to that she maybe doesn't want to feel.
Right. So we did that work, and the feeling is safety. She wants to feel safe. She wants to feel like protected. So I guess my question was more on the terms of do you believe that can be transformed, that somebody can change the narrative to the point of feeling attracted towards a guy that that is not what she historically has been feeling attracted. It's possible to change the narrative.
I believe it is possible to change that narrative. You have to understand it. So it's great because it sounds like she's been exploring that narrative. And so to change that narrative is to have a kind of, have the awareness, but also it's like to name it, to feel it, to look at. So if she's looking for safety,
right,
how else does safety come into this dynamic? How else does she feel safe with this person? How else is he bringing safety to her? And where is safety if she's enjoying his company and she's enjoying the dating realm and it's meeting a lot of what she's desiring? Then it's almost like building up the awareness of the safety that's actually there, rather than looking for the safety in the world in the height.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you.
Hopefully that's another piece of your journey with this person helpful.
That I got goosebumps.
It's always like we're always looking at what is the need, and if I need safety, how can we find it in another way? Because we keep looking for our needs in the same way, we keep going down the same pathway, but actually, often we can get our needs met in different ways. And so it's just always looking at what is it that I need right now? And how can I find that need met? How can I find that need of that, to be met?
Oh my God, we could keep talking forever.
I know we could.
But that was beautiful. Thank you so much. And I know you have a free gift for our viewers. So would you mind sharing what that is about?
Yes. So it's a meditation really, where it's called, I've just called it the Vital Core Meditation. And actually what it does is it connects you with your pelvis, so your sexual root. It connects you with your heart, and it connects you with your head. And what it brings to you is a sense of inner safety, inner stability, And it helps connect what I believe are the core components when we make choices in relationship. We need our sexuality to be in connection with our heart, our emotions. Our emotions need to be connected to our intelligence. And so when we're choosing, when we're out in the dating world, we don't want just our sexual energy to choose someone. We don't want our emotions to just choose someone, because we might not feel the sexual energy. We don't want our intelligence to just choose. What we want is our intelligence and our emotional safety and our sexual energy to feel in unison. We want them to make the choice together.
I'm gonna be the first one grabbing.
So it helps you align that conversation. Yeah.
I just love what you do. I love how you do it. I just am in soul love with you.
Thank you.
But you are amazing.
Thank
you so much for doing this work, for doing it so beautifully. I mean, I have goosebumps all over. It's very inspiring. It's very motivating, and definitely, I know you have a retreat next year.
Yes.
2024. So I'm going to put it in my calendar. It's in the UK.
It's in the UK. Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to put it there,
Yeah, put it there. Come to beautiful England.
Because I just love what you do. There is such a need for that.
Yeah.
There is such a need for that. We waste so much energy on the dark side of sexuality, or denying it, or whatever. But I'm gonna
celebrating it, being the pleasure, celebrating our sexuality, for sure. Thank you for inviting me to share.
My pleasure. Upgrade to join the VIP exclusive package. Maximize the difference that this interview series can make in your love life. The VIP package includes 2 additional VIP-only coaching and training sessions after this challenge to make the shift you want to make to create the loving relationship you want. That is an additional week of coaching and training. A private 20-minute coaching session with me to set real goals, remove your blocks, and get your questions answered. A free ticket to the Get Ready for Love Masterclass, a powerful live training session that will help you create your unique love vision and jumpstart you to create the love you want right away. On-demand access to the Library of Experts interview. These recordings will only be made available to VIPs. And emails from me updating you with all the links and dates for the VIP extra trainings, coaching calls, and resources. Amounts to a total value of $1,100. Today, you can access it for only $47. Click on the button that says Join VIP now for only $47. Looking forward to see you there.